Assalamu alaikum viewers, a very warm welcome to all of you watching Hidayat TV. I'm Haider Saidi. Viewers, in this program, as you know, we talk to different generations, bring in their point of view and try to learn from each other and try to bridge the gap in between. Viewers, on Sunday 10th of March 2013 in Lahore, an angry mob attacked and looted more than 170 houses and then burned those houses. Churches were attacked, holy scriptures of Bible were burnt out over alleged blasphemy. The pictures you're seeing on your screen does not represent a faith which promotes peace, harmony and equality, but this incident yet again has exposed a charged emotional side of Muslim community over blasphemy issues. From satanic verses in 1988 by Salman Rushdie to innocence of Muslims in September 2012, we have seen these violent protests all across the world. Only in Pakistan, at least 23 people were killed in chargeful protest against blasphemy. US Ambassador Christopher Stephen was killed in Benghazi, and we always condemn these acts from both sides. We protest in a civilized manner. However, we have seen these protests across world, I mean starting from America, going all the way to Indonesia. But it's very interesting to note that we have not seen even a single protest in the so-called Islamic kingdom of Al Saud, also known as Saudi Arabia, who wants to lead in the Islamic faith. And today we will look at the flip side of this incident or these all incidents, because we want to understand that what actually blasphemy is and how it can affect us and how difficult it is even to talk about blasphemy. Viewers, those of you who are aware of Mubahala incident, we celebrate Mubahala, that it was a day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established clearly that who are the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But there are two different, though further angles, less important but important to this event. Surah Baqarah, there is no compulsion in religion. This ayah was revealed during those days, I would say around 26th of Zulhajj and 9th Hijri. And also there is another event which happened during those when Prophet Muhammad and peace be upon him and Christians leader dignitaries, they were having discussions on discussing the modalities regarding the Prophet's invitation to all these Christians, and we will cover that incident while concluding the program, inshallah. Let's start our today's program with this issue, that how good we are to protect our community when it comes to blasphemy issues, and also then how practical we are when it comes to protecting our minorities where we live. So we will be joined by Bina Server from United States, a famous writer, a journalist, Bishop Dr. Ijaz from Karachi, he's Bishop of Karachi, and a religious scholar, Sayyid Zafar Abbas from London. And inshallah we'll talk to these individuals and see what is their view on this. From Boston we have joined Bina Server. Bina is a freelance journalist, documentary filmmaker, currently a fellow at Harvard School, and we will be talking to her about more about blasphemies. Assalamu alaikum, Bina. Can you hear us?
Ji, bilkul. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Bina, tell us what is blasphemy in your opinion? What is actually in free thinkers' world?
Oh, I don't know about free thinkers' world, but in my opinion, I suppose blasphemy would be something that, I guess it means different things to different people. I don't think that burning the Quran consists of blasphemy. I don't think saying something critical about any religion or religious figure consists of blasphemy. I think blasphemy is a very serious allegation. And also, I think what really is key is the intent behind it. Is the intent to, sort of make somebody, to humiliate or to say something really horrible? Or is it just sort of something just came out in anger, or just something that came out as a matter of critical thinking or something? I think that makes a lot of difference.
Okay, and what are the boundaries of free speech in terms of, you know, who will prove that this is the right intention or the wrong intention?
So here's the thing. I think that basically in an adult world where people are, you know, mature thinkers, they will be able to rise above considerations of, oh, you said this to me, or you said that about me, or you insulted me. I think that a mature person can rise above insults by saying, well, if you said something stupid or wrong, that's your problem, and I'm not going to make it my problem. So I think that that has something to do with maturity and intelligence and kind of, I would say, sort of a visionary thinking, which a lot of people don't have.
Okay, I mean, let's move a bit further down to Pakistan. I mean, in Pakistan, these are the more stringent blasphemy laws in place in Pakistan. How do you look at it?
So I would first of all say they are so-called blasphemy laws because, you know, the 295C that was put in place by the British was a man-made law that was, you know, introduced in the early 1900s by the British in order to legislate and to provide a penal code punishment for somebody who had insulted the religious sentiments of a community, of a particular religious community. Now, what happened was when General Zia-ul-Haq came in, he added sections to 295, A, B, and C, and those sections made it the criminal offense of insulting religious feelings or injuring religious sentiments into a more criminal offense that carried a greater punishment. And the greater the punishment that this now crime entailed, the more we've seen the people taking the law into their own hands in Pakistan. So, for example, when 295C, which introduced the option of life imprisonment or death for insulting the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, when that happened, and when death became the only option as a punishment for people convicted under 295C.
But you know, I mean, that was the democratic government of Nawaz Sharif when it was changed from life imprisonment to only death sentence in 1991.
Yes, it was, but it was not done democratically because the option of life imprisonment lapsed. It was not something that Parliament introduced. Death penalty was not something introduced by Parliament. It is not something introduced by a democratic government. It was something that the court earlier had ruled that if this matter is not resolved, then the option of life imprisonment will lapse and death will become the only option. And it was contested earlier. You know, a lot of people, you know, contested, religious scholars contested that and said that, you know, there's too many lacunae, there's too many, the witness requirements are so stringent, but you know, those witness requirements are not followed in Pakistan, and that has been the case with other so-called religious laws as well.
Okay, I mean, taking from the prosecution's point, you said it's very weak in terms of who will define the witness and how will they come forward. So in that sort of society where the prosecution is very weak, what do you think these laws should be there? I mean, talking from Salman Taseer's point of view, for example, even talking about blasphemy becomes blasphemy.
Well, but it's not really. That is how the certain sections of society interpret it, because that is how they make political capital. This is not something that is used for religious purposes. It is something that has very clearly been used for political purposes to gain, momentum and to bring themselves back into the limelight because they feel that they are becoming irrelevant, these so-called religious forces, because Salman Taseer did not say anything that dozens of other people, hundreds of other people in Pakistan have not said. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan has since 1993 been calling for amendments and repeal to this law. So many other people have, called it a black law. It is, because it is not God's law. This is a law that was introduced by a military dictator to perpetuate his rulership. So there's nothing religious. I mean, the religion is exploited, but so
it's more to get the political mileage for these extremist parties who want to get into more dominant position in the society. Is that true?
Exactly. I mean, that is so clear. I mean, every single case of so-called blasphemy that was investigated in the early 1900s, and I was in Lahore at the time, and I went on several fact-finding missions myself into cases where people had been accused of so-called blasphemy. And in every single case, we found that there was some other motive. There was a land rivalry, somebody owed somebody money, somebody had had a fight with somebody, and it was very easy in any of those situations to say that, oh, he has committed blasphemy, and slap a case on him. And then before even the police can begin an investigation, you get a lynch mob and you kill that person. And that has happened in more than 50 cases in Pakistan so far, where people against whom a case has not even been registered were killed.
And I think that includes 2 judges as well who have acquitted those accused of blasphemy. Okay,
That's
moving
right.
on from there, I mean, if revisited, for example, something good happens and someone decides to revisit these blasphemy laws, don't you think there should be something counter towards this blasphemy as well, that someone who accused those innocent people, they should be brought to justice as well?
Well, of course, that is there in the law, but it's not followed. I mean, that is there. The law provides for qazaf, which is a false accusation, to be very severely punished. But I don't know if anybody has been punished under qazaf. I mean, a qazaf punishment, false accusation entails being whipped. I don't know if anybody has been whipped for false accusation.
Is it more of the pressure, religious pressure, or the extremism, or this sort of takfiri point of view who wants to look in only black and white stuff? Is it because of those people everyone is afraid of?
Well, you see, because they are bullies. They come out on the roads. They are a minority in Pakistan. They are a section of society. They're just very few people, but yet they wield disproportionate power because they are bullies. They come out and they are violent. They damage public property. They attack people physically. They kill people. So people are afraid, But, you need to take very strict action against people who act.
So it's more of a fear of mullah versus fear of Allah. So people are more afraid because of mullah says so, or, the people.
Well, I would say that is the case, but I think also there's a problem in Pakistan where people are not well versed in religion. They don't know what blasphemy means. If somebody says that, oh, he or she has committed blasphemy, without using their own minds, without employing any critical thinking, people will just rush into it, and to try and prove themselves better Muslims, they will
same like what happened in Lahore recently when
exactly yeah.
Okay, and I mean, what do you think, how can we take it further? As you mentioned rightly, that 40–50% people are illiterate, they don't understand the right and wrong about blasphemy. So what is the way forward? When
but
people are
it's not about illiterate, it's not about literacy. I mean, you have people who garlanded Qadri, who was a common criminal, a murderer, and they were lawyers. They were not illiterate people. The people who celebrated Salman Taseer's murder were not illiterate people. They were people who were highly educated people. So it's not about literacy. It's about a kind of a worldview. It's about trying to understand what's going on. It's about being clear about what religion is, being clear about the basics of religion, which are humanity, justice, fair play, and all of that, and not, killing without proof, without reason. That is not part of religion.
Okay. Moving on from Pakistan, I want to bring in the whole world issue now. I mean, we have seen since the satanic verses to recent years of this Innocence of Muslim, which was produced in America last year. I mean, is it just to promote the violent side of Muslims when, we apparently Benghazi has been burned, ambassadors have been killed, and only, like in Pakistan in September 2012, there were 43 people who killed during those clashes, which started off with this movie. So is it just that we are very easily offended, or how do you take?
Yeah, I think you've kind of answered your own question. I think people are very easily A, offended, and B, eager to show how offended they are. To show how offended you are, you will try and be more violent than the next person to show you are more pious, more religion than the next person. Rather than say that, my religion does not permit violence in the name of religion. My religion is about peace. My religion is about justice. You have people who, because they are insecure about, I think, their religion, and they are insecure about their faith, and so they will go out and be violent about it. People who are secure in their faith don't need to do that. People who are secure in their faith would say, if you have made a disgusting film about my prophet is bigger than that, and he doesn't need me to jump to his defense. He doesn't need, he is above your criticism and your casting aspersions, because it doesn't matter, because we know, what his reality is, and he is above all of that, and we should be above all of that.
Okay. I mean, should we demand more tighter regulations? I mean, there was a recent demand in the United Nations as well, that there should be overall a blanket blasphemous law in place to protect the Prophet and all the religious personalities. Do you agree with that notion?
Well, I think that legislation is a two-way street. We have this legislation in Pakistan, and rather than protect the Prophet or the religion or the holy book, it has served to, to kill innocent people. So I don't know whether legislation is the answer. I think that rather than legislation, it is maybe more important for people to realize that, I think there's a responsibility that comes with freedom of expression. And I think if somebody does not employ that responsibility, then really, like I said, that is that person's problem, and we should not make it ours. That it shows that person's smallness of mind and ignorance when they say and do things that they try to hurt us with,
Okay.
And we should not fall into that trap and show them. And they try to provoke, and it's not people like you or me who are getting provoked and running out and running amok and burning. And
I mean, we can, in a civilized way, we can register our protest as well.
Absolutely, there are many ways to do it. Make a film that shows the truth. Show, and people have, to be honest, people have responded in a responsible way. We've had Muslim communities in America donating blood to non-Muslim communities. We've had people going on teaching tours. There are some very good documentaries. There are scholars like Karen Armstrong and Leslie Hazelton who have really looked into issues of Islam and Islamic history in a very respectful way. But those efforts don't make the headlines because the media plays up on things that are sensational. So if Leslie Hazelton or Karen Armstrong went about burning something, that would make headlines. But when they are giving a lecture that is giving you the truth and like giving you the real values of Islam and telling you historical facts about your religion, that is not making headlines. I
mean, I was also amused when this incident happened last year of burning Quran, when Pastor Terry Jones decided to, and he was unable to pronounce or differentiate between Iman and Imam. And he was sort of a guy that we all looked up to and decided to burn our own properties and killed our own people in the name of religion. So
he's an ignorant man. He's an ignorant, stupid troublemaker. I'm sorry. And the thing is that he should just have been ignored. He only did it because of the media. If the media did not go cover him doing his stupid, idiotic acts and saying the ridiculous things he was saying, who would he say it to? He would be.
So it was more sensationalized by the media itself, and obviously. Then
it's a two-way thing. What is the media supposed to do when somebody does this? I suppose the media feels they have a responsibility to project it, but I don't think it's just responsibility. I think the media knows that this is what's going to sell. You're going to play up Terry Jones. You're going to, you're going to get people watching your channel. You're going to get people reading your newspaper. You're not going to get people doing that when you're covering some nice peaceful thing of Muslims donating blood or having an interfaith dialogue. It's all nice and all that, but it doesn't make for headline news.
Okay, last question. I mean, you've been living in States, have obviously covered a lot in terms of the whole world, especially in Pakistan as well, and you've been based in UK as well. I mean, do you think in terms of, in regards to blasphemy or in regards to these sort of sensitive issues, are we moving towards a more radicalized approach, or is there any way where we can liberate our thinking and we can think more progressively and understand things clearly?
I think discussions like the one that you are having help towards that. I mean, yes, there is a more radical approach from the extremists on both sides, but then I also see a lot of efforts by people to counter that. And I think that needs to continue. The discussion and dialogue needs to continue. People who are moderates, moderate Muslims, need to reclaim the space. We need to say, this is not our religion. You are hijacking our religion. Islam does not anywhere condone murder and damage of public or private property on mere allegations. It is nowhere stated, you know. So I think that we really need to reclaim that space.
So
and
it's more
to
about
continue
reclaiming our land and our
reclaiming our space and continuing to have a rational discussion and insisting on, and we will not sink to their level. We will not, you know, stoop to their level by abusing them or burning their books or calling them, you know, or any kind of or use any kind of violence. We will continue to have our dialogue and discussion in a peaceful, non-violent, and positive and a rational way, and that is, I think that we will prevail. I don't think that people like that, they're exposing themselves and their ignorance, and I think that in the end, the majority of people can see what they are doing.
Okay, thank you very much, Beena, for joining us from Boston.
Thank you.
And hope to have you soon on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Viewers, we were just speaking to Beena, and the conclusion we had after discussing this, that it's more about reclaiming our own space. People who can talk, people who can sit down and talk rationally, they should come forward and talk about it. After the break, we will be joined from Karachi, Dr. Ijaz Inayat, and he will be joined us on. Thank you very much for joining us again. We are joined by Bishop Dr. Ijaz Inayat from Bishop House Holy Trinity Cathedral, Karachi. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good day and assalamu alaikum viewers, and thank you very much Hidayat TV for speaking loud and clear on humanity issues.
Thank you so much, sir. Bishop Dr. Ijaz Inayat is chairman of Interfaith Friendship Forum based in Pakistan. He's also leading a project called Volunteers Pakistan, and he's been also, as I said wisely, that he's been promoting peace and humanity in Pakistan. Sir, first of all, we would like to pass our condolences to all Christian brothers in Pakistan who've been targeted in the recent Badami Bagh incident. And tell us, what is blasphemy? What do you think in Christianity faith?
You see, I just want to make it clear to all viewers and listeners that blasphemy in Christianity has no place.
Okay.
We should not be identified with the Jewish law and with the Islamic Sharia.
Okay.
You see, Christianity within itself is a different faith. And the world has to recognize it.
Okay.
We do not borrow instructions from the Jewish law or from the Islamic law. We have either believers or non-believers. And many Christians all over the world, they could be legal Christians and not believers at the same time. Legally they are Christians because they are members of churches, they are born in Christian families, but as believers, because we are on our way to the heavenly kingdom.
Okay.
And here I would like to say and tell you and remind you that Jesus Christ is the one who has to hold judgment on the day of judgment.
Okay.
The Muslims believe that, the Christians believe that, but the Jews do not believe that.
Okay.
So what I want to emphasize is that in Christian faith there is no concept of blasphemy, because Jesus told us to love our enemies and pray for those who
and I'm sure this is the same message which resonates within Islam as well. And if you look at
you see, basically it is a message of to the humanity, to the whole of it. You love your enemy. When you love your enemy or your children or your family or your friends, then you don't go after them, killing them, burning their houses, or doing whatever is being done today.
Okay.
You see, this is non-Islamic, this is non-humanitarian, and this is against all established values of humanity. And
Okay.
thank you very much for your condolences on Josephtown incident.
Mhm.
But the condolences should go to mankind rather than to a community.
To a Christianity faith. Okay. I mean, tell us historically that how being Christian, how in Pakistan, what do you think it is? Do you think that you are persecuted all the time, or is more to do with extreme point of view who always target these communities, be it in Shia community or be whosoever is in minority?
You see, all the minority communities which began with the Ahmadis long time ago.
Okay.
You know, many people, they have been calling Ahmadis as a key to paradise.
Mm-hmm.
They had a philosophy, a very distorted philosophy, a very inhuman philosophy, that if they kill an Ahmadi,
Mm-hmm.
they will straightaway go to paradise.
Okay.
You see, this misconception in the uneducated and extremist Muslims, I do not call them Muslims, I will not take them as Muslims, because they have their own philosophy. And the base of the philosophy is that by doing such cheap things,
Mm-hmm.
they are serving Islam. Well, the Islam that I know and which the world recognizes, that has no place for such a philosophy.
And its literal meaning is more about peace and submission and
You see,
salami. Okay.
actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
You will have to understand the geopolitical situation of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran,
Mm-hmm.
to understand that these people, they are on the role of certain forces
Okay.
which are inflicting humanity to create crisis in order to gain control over this area and eventually on the geopolitical situation.
So do you think now being Christian in Pakistan is more being vulnerable in Pakistan?
Not for me. I've been speaking openly on TV channels, even on British channels, foreign channels, and I've not faced anything.
Okay,
See,
that's very
it
very
is-
interesting and very kind. I
see,
would say.
it is basically sending a message from the extremists to the rest of the world that they are doing something, that they are dangerous people,
Mhm.
and the innocent, uneducated Muslims, they are easily lured into this philosophy, who feel and think that burning an alive person who is accused of blasphemy or any allegation against Islam, they are serving Islam.
Okay.
See, my concept and a very valid truth is that Islam has a total system of justice,
That's true. That's true.
jurisprudence.
Mhm.
They
Okay,
have
let me bring in some stats here. I mean, before 1979, there were only 11 cases of blasphemy registered in Pakistani courts, and there was another 3 between 1979 to 1986, and 1999 they rose up to 44, and in 2000 there were 52 cases of blasphemy, and since then there have been more than 3,000 cases of blasphemy. 50 have been killed, extrajudicial murders, including 2 judges of acquitting individuals. So, what do you think? I mean, is it more radicalized society in Pakistan now?
You see, the thing is that your aims, they matter. The aims which any group or any movement has, that matters. And the aim at the moment, to me, that seems like creating crisis among people, creating fear among people, so that nobody opposes them, nobody obstructs them, and they are given a free hand.
Okay.
And I clearly want to say that the hand of the Arab,
Mm-hmm.
what should I call, uh, lobby, Arab lobby,
Okay.
that is visible in all these
So basically,
incidents.
it's more about the Saudi influence in Pakistan now, that promoting
Yes,
this takfiri,
I don't fear
saying it.
saying it,
Mm-hmm.
admitting it, because I've been watching it all the time, and
Okay.
it is a line which moves from there, and it passes from Pakistan into Afghanistan, and from there onwards to the rest of the world.
Okay, that's very interesting. That at least you, as our Christian brothers, they acknowledge the fact as well that Saudi are playing a very
So not all
influential.
brothers, not all brothers. Most of the people will not agree to this.
That's what I'm saying. That there's only very few individuals like yourself that who can publicly own this argument that this has been happening in Pakistan, and they've been funded via Saudi links and people from based.
Let me explain a little more. Let me explain a little more. You see, this all started with the Russian war in Afghanistan.
Okay.
That was planned and cultivated, nurtured by CIA and our ISI.
Okay.
When the Russians left, the policy shift could not be seen. Then our people, they kept on using it as a policy tool in association with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Arab lobby, and that is creating a disbalance in the society.
So it
You
has been
got my point?
hijacked by the Saudi.
Have I been able to explain it?
Okay.
See, that opportunity from the Afghan war was hijacked and used as a policy tool to keep crisis in this region. And it has to do with the Irani geopolitical situation,
As
with
well.
the new bloc which is coming up in the shape of Russia, China, India, and now South Africa is also
As well, the part
on
of
board.
BRICS, the new
See,
superpower.
this is all economic warfare, and Pakistan to me looks like a buffer state which is holding the extremists from going outside Pakistan.
Okay.
You see,
Was there any lapse in our efforts that we couldn't
yes,
confront
the thing
General
is,
Zia?
the thing is, the thing is that the people in general, they fail to understand what is at the bottom of this blasphemy law.
Okay.
And I tell you a hard fact that 10 votes out of the National Assembly, they were of the minorities. They all went in favor of passing this blasphemy law. Nobody was expecting that it would be misused, abused, and used against one person will use it
I
against
mean
his own neighbor.
that's very important as well, because what I cannot understand simply that being a minority, how can someone such a
See,
act,
nobody will.
nobody will.
That is
Yes, because
our
96%
reasoning.
is
That
population.
is our reasoning that nobody will. Nobody will ever dare to do that.
That's right.
See, after so many cases, and they have been highlighted in the national and international media, the whole world has supported the inflicted people. See, nobody will. But what is happening? Let's try to analyze. There are individuals who try to settle their scores with their opponents on property or on political issues or on other issues. Even if two people, they want to marry a single girl, they will try to go
That's
as far as blaming the other one for blasphemy so that he gets the girl. Things like that, property. And then there is a blanket cover by the, I should say, clearly say, Punjab government. They have
Okay.
failed to catch anybody,
Mm-hmm.
punish anybody
Mm-hmm.
who have been visibly seen as amongst those who are burning houses in Shanti Nagar, in Sagla Hill, in Gojra, in Bahmniwala, and now in Josephtown.
And
The
I think, let me, please do correct me if I'm wrong. These are the cases, mainly cases are in mainland Punjab as well.
most of these cases took place in Punjab.
Mainland
And
Punjab.
it was practically the duty of the Punjab government.
Mm-hmm.
And Punjab government has been accused many a times of being in alliance with the extremists,
Mm-hmm.
Lashkar-e-Jangvi and all
Yes,
these
indeed,
people.
indeed. That's correct. Okay. I mean, tell us then, what do you think? What is the way forward? Do you would you like to be part of a political campaign or something that would ask for revisiting these laws?
No, no. We keep on asking as members of the civil society.
Mm-hmm.
As educated members of the civil society, it is our duty to keep on speaking. You see, in August last year,
Mm-hmm.
when this little girl from Islamabad was charged under blasphemy law,
And she was
I was the first. I
later
was the
acquitted.
first one to speak. I was the first one to speak against it on
Okay.
a British channel. It was Channel 4. But you see, the thing is that people at that time, especially after the death of, after the murder of Suleiman Tasir and Shahbaz Bhatti, people were scared to talk. But
Okay.
when the civil society starts talking, when the humans start talking,
Mm-hmm.
when people start talking, that means a change is in the air. I expect that.
So what do you think, that how can you empower those people who are scared after the assassination of Shahbaz Bhatti, Salman Taseer, and cases like Ramsha Masih in Islamabad, and people even burning I think it was in July 2012 when in mainland Punjab someone was burnt and he was terminally ill as well?
Many years ago, a Muslim doctor, maybe he was a homeopathic doctor or some
In
desi
Islamabad.
doctors. No, in Gujranwala.
Okay.
His wife charged him. He was a Muslim. Let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
He was charged of burning Holy Quran, and the people there dragged him outside. This is the mentality which we are opposing, that Islam has a system of jurisprudence. Why don't you allow the system to take its course? See,
Okay.
nobody is allowed to judge the faith or intentions of other people. Only God can look into the hearts.
Mm-hmm. That's
Well,
right.
I keep on saying, asking people, don't try to act God.
And I think
See,
that's
when
what
somebody-
they're exactly trying to do.
This is what people are trying to do. And see, the difficulty is that since most of Pakistan is corrupt, most of the Pakistan is in a state of denial. Most of the Pakistan is consistent on people who are opportunists. See, values do not count. We have to speak on constructing values on the individual level so that the society in Pakistan that takes a civilized form.
So change has to start within. I mean, you have to
The
empower
change has
people.
to start from the people, in the schools, in the families, and in gullies and mahallas everywhere.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned, I mean, this is the only way forward. But, you know, I mean, I was reading into this Pakistan Penal Code provision 153 that is basically playing that can play its role against the blasphemy laws as well. So that's a more counter strategy. But I never heard of this sort of you know, charges been brought up against someone that who has accused someone or alleged someone earlier and they've been acquitted after. So do you think that these provisions should be implemented as well?
See, the thing is that we have a complete judicial system. But you cannot change the intentions of a witness. You cannot change the intentions of a judge. You cannot change the intentions of the lawyers who are conducting that trial. The difficulty is with the values of our society.
Okay.
When they abuse the values, when they abuse the law, the result is different.
Okay.
It's basically abuse
So it's
and
more about abusing the law.
disregard of values. When I throw myself down to that extent that even if I have to bring a wrong allegation against somebody,
Okay.
the whole story finishes there.
So it's more about abusing the law and abusing the system in place.
It
That's
is
right.
abusing,
I mean, we have
abusing
established.
the law and misusing it against people for personal scores.
It's a more oppression which we
Yes.
denounce it any way and form in
You see,
Islam as well as in Christianity.
The police stations, they are sold. If you know that,
Yes,
if people
indeed.
know that, all over Pakistan, the police stations are sold, positions are sold. That is corruption, and that is backed by the heavyweight people in politics and in government.
So it's a more sort
So
of financial as well as moral corruption that have been culminated together.
Both join hands for this abuse.
So I mean, what in a wider context now, then we have seen this movie last year, and then the satanic verses, and then Taslima Nasreen event, and then so many discussion of Quran incidents in Afghanistan as well as in Iraq. So what is the way forward? I mean, how do you take it that what should we do in terms of protecting all the religion as well as the holy personage who are associated with those? Do you support any laws, or do you think there should be any blanket laws?
I don't think any law will help.
Okay.
Only if we improve the volume of understanding of human society. See, there have been movies made against Christ and against Mary long time ago. Many movies like Da Vinci Code and so many others.
And in the name of freedom of speech and expression.
In the name of freedom of speech. You see, what I'm trying to say is not that we should not speak against this cheap commercial activity all over the world. We must speak against
but in
that.
a more civilized manner.
We must speak about it in a manner which is understood by the people at large. See, whenever such a thing comes, it gets a lot of publicity because of the extremists, their reaction and all that. If that is not there, these people will be discouraged to use as a cheap publicity stunt.
Okay.
What do you think? The people who have been making movies against Christ and Sacred Mary, were they Christians? No. They were commercial people. They were atheists. Most of the world is being controlled by atheists. And they are smarter than Muslims and Christians.
Christians as believers. Okay.
They are smarter than Muslims and Christians. They relax in their big offices and they enjoy. This is the message which the people need to know, that no person who respects God or has faith in God will try to abuse those holy personalities which are respected by others.
Okay. So this debate is more about ignorance versus intellect. That one must use their intellect and one is not using their ignorance. I would say
people are not using their mind. All over the world, they are not using their mind.
Okay.
See,
sorry.
You got my point. See, the law, any law, even if it is on the universal scale, that is not to inflict people of society. See, the reason and the place of law is to bring positive changes in the thinking of people. You are not supposed to steal your brother's
so it's a more deterrent towards it.
Yes. You see, we need to publicize the activities of those cheap people who are using these cheap commercial advertisement activities to inflict humanity and bring disagreement between people of different sects and religions.
Okay.
We need to expose them, and we need to understand their technologies, their
Okay.
method, the use of cheap advertisement methods.
So basically, we have to combat against them in the same level they are doing using
Collectively, we need to
collectively.
come against them.
Okay, what's your message for the younger generation based anywhere in the world, especially in the UK, as be it Christians, Hindus, or Muslims? What do you think? What is your message?
My message is that first of all, they should try to become good human beings. Then they should try to apply their mind. Apply their mind. They should become people who are thinking about the presence of God. Why? Why do we need a God? Why we should refuse a God? You see, atheism is growing at a very great speed. Not only among the Westerns, but among the people from India, Pakistan, and places like that. I come across them on daily basis, and I feel that our message to our younger generation is that they should go after the values, they should go after understanding, they should go after finding answers. You see, there is one point which I want to make clear. Very often, we are defending our position rather than addressing a situation.
That's very right, I believe. That's very right.
See, that we have to change this attitude. We need to address the situation rather than defend a situation. We need to claim the ownership of society.
I mean, exactly, that's the same line I was speaking to Beena Server earlier. She used that we have to claim our space within the society.
Yes,
that the
yes,
people
yes,
who
our
think
position. Ownership of Pakistan, ownership of Islam, ownership of society, and ownership of humanity.
Okay.
It's more about values rather than something else.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for joining us from Karachi, and hope to speak to you soon again.
I hope I have been able to be helpful.
You've been very kind, sir. You've been very kind.
Thank
you very much.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
God bless you, sir. We are joined by Syed Zafar Abbas from London now, and he has a degree in politics, international relations, MA in South Asian Studies from University of London. He's also studied at Hawza Ilmiya in Najf Ashraf, and currently he's a religious advisor at Zainabia Welfare Foundation. Assalamu alaikum, Zafar. Thank you very much for joining us, Syed. Syed, tell us, what is blasphemy in Islam?
When I was asked by yourself to talk about this, I was doing a bit of research into this area, and I'll be honest with you, struggling to find what the Arabic word would be for blasphemy. There's nothing that talks about blasphemy as we understand it today in the Holy Quran, and nor are there any examples from the life of the Prophet either. So I think the short answer would be there isn't anything as such as blasphemy as we might consider it today in our modern legal systems that exists in Islam.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of, you know, when we talk about, we have been talking to several people here about this blasphemy issues and the recent wave in regard to blasphemy. So why this Muslim, especially South Asian Muslim, are so offended by this blasphemy?
Yeah, I mean, if we look back to where they originate from, we'll see that in the early part of the 20th century, when the British were still ruling over India, somebody had written a book which is very famous now. It's called called Rangila Rasool.
That's right. That's right.
In which he collected some narrations from various books that showed the Holy Prophet in a very bad light. And as a consequence of that, of course, there was protests, and then eventually the writer of that book was killed.
And it was killed by the famous Ghazi al-Muddin as well, which we know in history now.
So as a result of this this whole saga, the British realized that it was they needed something to make sure that something like this didn't happen again. So as a result of that, they introduced blasphemy laws in India. So under the Government of India Act at the time, they introduced laws that it was impermissible for anybody to insult or be offensive to another religion. Unfortunately, of course, this was something as a public order mechanism. Later on, when we came into the 1980s, when General Haq became the president of Pakistan, he decided that as part of his Nizam-e-Mustafa and Islamization program, decided that there needed to be a bit more emphasis on this particular area, and he introduced all of these things into the penal code. And in fact, if we look at all the countries which have blasphemy laws, the most complicated and most detailed blasphemy laws are actually the ones in Pakistan. And this is because General Haq introduced them into the penal code, and it was part of his particular agenda to try and play on the emotions of the people and make almost anything with regards to religion to be offensive. And this, of course, coincided with the rise of Sipai Sahaba and other militant organizations who then included the offense towards the Sahaba, towards other religious figures, so on and so forth, into that whole legal system. So, I mean, in terms of any precedent from the past, there isn't much. But I think that one of the reasons why perhaps in Pakistan it became more successful was due to the lack of literacy levels in the country, the lack of education amongst the majority of the population, and the fact that the topic of, especially of the Holy Prophet, is a very emotional one as far as Muslims are concerned. So it was very easy to manipulate that and use that for benefit.
Not interrupting you here, but as a Muslim or as a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, do you really think that the population, which is 96% of Pakistan, they are Muslim, will they even think about issuing any sacrilegious statement against Prophet Muhammad or anything like that, even is imaginable?
No, I mean, like I said, I don't think that, like I said, the actual issue of blasphemy itself has been manipulated by politicians and by other interest groups because it's an easy way to control the people. And I don't think it's very interesting. In fact, if we take the example of Pakistan, that a person who is accused of blasphemy is almost always charged of it, regardless of the evidence that may be presented or may be given, and they're given the punishment and they've been ordered to be killed and so on and so forth. And an interesting comparison is with the fact that over the last 3 decades, where people have been target killed, and in particular they've been followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, not a single person has ever been charged, and if people are charged, they are set on bail and they're let go because of the lack of evidence. Yet when it comes to the blasphemy law, we see that there's a direct opposite case where people are charged even with the lack of evidence, without any solid proof, and they're given the punishment as well. So we can see by these two actions that there is this dichotomy tells us that there's a much more a political sort of, if you like,
angle to it,
thing behind it, as opposed to any religious conviction or any kind of
and I mean, it's very interesting what you have just mentioned, that this is a special, and especially the militant wing. For example, I was reading it that Anjuman Sipahi Sahaba in early 1990s, they were the first organization who killed someone on the basis of blasphemy, and then obviously they were banned, and later they started their organization as Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, and nowadays as Ahl-e-Sunnat wal Jamaat, and they do have the same agenda. So be it focusing on the Sahabas or focusing on, but I mean, it's really difficult for me to understand for people in terms of that. Don't they fear Allah, or is it more powerful mullah?
I think just to bring in where the historical basis of it might come from, is the fact that, like I said, from the Quran we don't find any basis for blasphemy or from anything from the life of the Prophet. However, we do find that after the Holy Prophet passed away, that there was a particular tribe who was led by Malik ibn Nuwayra, famous companion of the Holy Prophet, who refused to pay the zakat. And as
and that was in the time of first Caliph, I believe.
This was directly after the Holy Prophet passed away. And the Khalifa had demanded him to pay the zakat, and he had refused to pay the zakat to the Khalifa. As a consequence of that, him and his whole tribe were considered to be apostates and left the religion of Islam. And Khalid bin Walid, who had been sent by the first Khalifa to extract the zakat, killed Malik ibn Nuwayra, and then married his widow the same night.
Yeah, this is very tragic. Marrying the widow in the same night.
Very tragic part of our history, unfortunately. And there's been various justifications given for why Malik ibn Nuwayra was killed and why his tribe were considered to be apostates. And the term that Maulana Maududi, for example, uses in Khilafat al-Mulukiyat is mani'in al-zakat, those who refuse to pay the zakat. Despite the fact that most of the scholars from all the schools in the religion of Islam are fairly unanimous on the fact that if somebody refuses to do a particular act of worship, a particular ibadat, they do not go outside the fold of Islam.
And I think that's exactly we did under the leadership of Mufti Jafar in 1980s as well, when we decided not to pay zakat to the government banks. Okay.
Yes. And interestingly enough, General Ziaul Haq, who was the president of the time, conceded to our demands. There was a provision given in that ordinance that if somebody was to bring a letter saying that they were Shia, then they wouldn't have to pay the zakat. And as a consequence of that, a lot of people had become Shia.
At least on the first day of Ramadan.
To the government.
Okay.
So we can see that this is perhaps where the precedent of actually killing people for the refusal to do a particular action or refusal to do a particular thing comes from. But as far as the Holy Quran and the life of the Holy Prophet is concerned, there's no precedence for it whatsoever. There is actually a caveat that I should mention here, which is that there are some examples in the life of the Holy Prophet where he did order certain people to be killed. And the reason for that was not to do with the fact that they had left the faith or that they had decided to change the faith, but they were actively working against the Holy Prophet and the stability of the Muslim community at the time. And that, of course, is an act of treachery. It's treason, and as we know, most countries around the world, even today, where the death penalty doesn't exist, are still
take treason as a very criminal offense.
For treason. And even in the UK, where we don't have the death penalty, you can be court-martialed to the death penalty for treason and for fleeing the battlefield.
Okay.
So that's an important caveat to mention, that it's not to do with the fact that having a different point of view or a different opinion or a different or change of mind, but to do with people who are actually threats to the state.
Okay, I just wanna bring another point. I mean, I was reading this article by Muhammad Hanif in Guardian, and he mentioned this story about, I mean, he was not even sure about that, but he was saying that this is a text messages going along in Pakistan, that this, according to the story, when Prophet Muhammad conquered Mecca, he announced a general amnesty except for those who had committed blasphemy against his personality. He ordered them to be beheaded. One blasphemer was killed even when he tried to take shelter in the holy square, Kaaba, the most important place and holy place for Muslims, where it is strictly forbidden to kill anyone. So can you validate it for us?
The story is that there were 10 people who had actively tried to destabilize the community in Medina, and had allied with the Quraysh of Makkah, who were trying, whose objective at the time was to try and kill the Holy Prophet and end the religion of Islam. And as a consequence of that, the Holy Prophet, on the day of the victory of Makkah, had said that these people should be killed even if they are found within the precincts of the Kaaba. So the person was not killed within the Kaaba. The Prophet's statement was that even they are found
so it's more than
the Kaaba, that they should be killed. But like I said, the important thing to remember is that it wasn't about blasphemy.
It was more.
There's no Arabic term for the word blasphemy. I would really be interested to find out if any of the viewers do know of an Arabic term which might translate to blasphemy, because I tried to find it, but there isn't one. In Urdu we might say Tawheen Risalat, but in Arabic there is no word for blasphemy. So these people were charged by the Holy Prophet and were given this severe punishment for treason, for conspiring against the Holy Prophet and against the Muslims, and not for blasphemy, especially not in the way that we would understand it today.
Okay, thank you. Last question I want to ask you.
Yes.
As a British Pakistani, what do you think in the whole wider context, that should be there any blanket blasphemy law all across the world where the holy personalities are protected, or what is the way forward?
I think that and this is of course my personal views on this particular issue, is that there's much more of a need to bring the education levels up, to bring people to understand and respect other people's faith, and to hold different opinions in a respectful manner. Amir Islam has a very famous saying where he says, "An-nasu a'da'u ma jahilu." People are enemies of what they don't know. And so it's because of a lack of knowing about other people, about other faiths, about other communities, about other cultures, is why enmities and distrust and mistrust appears within society. So I think it's much more important for us to know one another, hold your different opinions, have your different opinions, but know other people, so that the enmity disappears.
Okay, thank you very much, Zafar, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Viewers, after talking to Bina Server, Bishop Dr. Ijaz Inayat and Sayyid Zafar Abbas, we have established that it's more about ignorance versus intellect. How ignorant we can be, that we can be easily offended, and rather than having a rational argument and talk about more while productively and sitting together. And it's about human values as well, that we should or we must protect our community as well as our minorities living within. Bringing in the same mobile imprecation incident which I started the program with today, that the third and least important but very relevant to today's society, that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam quotes that when the Christians of Najran came to the Messenger of Allah as a delegation, and their leaders were Hatim al-Aqib and As-Sayyid, the time of their prayer came, they began to ring handbells and prayed. The companions of the Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "O Prophet of Allah, this is your mosque." He said, "Let them be," when they finished their prayers. So those were the times when Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him, allowed Christians to pray in the same mosque. And today we are even unable to digest that someone comes and challenge our ignorance or intellect, I should say. We must follow a religion that talks about inclusivity, not about exclusivity. We all are ready to die for profit, but any one of us is prepared to live like a prophet even for a day. Leave your feedback at feedback@hidayat.tv or join us on Twitter at generationgap14 and we will hear your comments. With this prayer, as always, गम हमको ना दे सिवाय गम शब्बीर शब्बीर का गम बांट रहा है तो इधर दे अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन व आले मुहम्मद।